Hello, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about episode 5 of Taskmaster series 18, which marks halfway through this series, and I just have to say that I think this series has been absolutely fantastic so far. I've thoroughly enjoyed every episode. I think the contestants are incredible and I can't wait to see what the rest of the season brings, the second half of the season brings. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's really good. This episode I think was really strong as well. So we started off with the prize task as usual, and the prize task this time was to bring in the thing that's the best when you add water to it. And Jack, I think, started this off pretty strongly by bringing in a swimming pool. Like, it's pretty good, it's classic, it fits the brief perfectly. Like, a swimming pool without water is pretty useless. But with water, it's something that's really fun, entertaining. You can use it for fitness or just for fun. So it's a very strong prize task attempt, and like if we're thinking about it as like actually winning a prize, winning a swimming pool would be a pretty good prize to win. And I think this was made even better by the video of him like using the pool and swimming in the pool. And I thought the way that that works, like attaching yourself basically to the pool so you can swim without moving, I think that was I've never seen that before. That was really good. We then had Andy, who's dressed as a snooker player this episode, which I thought was just absolutely hilarious. I love that he was trying to bring himself down, like getting into the right mindset and not being as irritable. Just absolutely hilarious. I love all of his costumes and stuff. I can't wait to see what other ones he has, but I love that. And his prize was bringing in a powdered trampoline, which I thought was so silly, but I did quite enjoy it. I thought it was really fun, and I liked his idea of just like, these are just some good things that I've powdered, and where you add water to it and then you get the thing. It's very silly, but I just really like it. I don't know if it's quite 4 points worthy, but I think just the creativeness of it definitely elevates it. Rosie brought in a balloon, which is made better by filling it with water, which I do agree with her. I think a water balloon is probably more fun than a normal balloon, and it is satisfying to drop, so I definitely agree with her on that. Again, it's not that great of a prize, and it's definitely not the most creative, but I think it's, again, a very like classic prize to bring in for this category. It fits the brief perfectly, I think. It's just not that exciting of an item. Emma brought in a portrait of Greg that her brother drew when he was drunk, using watercolour, so I like that she did include kind of the watercolour and adding liquid to that part as well. And yeah, so it was like adding water to the watercolour and then also like adding water to the person as well. And I think I did quite a little bit confused about it, because I was thinking, well, if the thing that she's added liquid to is a worse drawing than the first, like the sober drawing, but I guess her thing is like, well, if you add beer to it, you get a bad drawing. If you add water to it, then it's a good drawing, like if you're sober versus drunk. Because I did get quite confused, because I was like, well, surely the other one is better, the one where they're not drunk. But I think that's a thing. So adding beer to it or alcohol, you get something that's not as good. Adding water to it and you get a really good drawing. That's at least how I took this. I'd be curious to see what you guys think. But I definitely think this is the best prize. I thought it was really fun. And again, it's just like bringing something else into it, a bit more creative, and something that appeals to Greg's ego, as he said. And I think, yeah, it was a really good attempt. And finally, we had Baba, who brought in jelly powder. And again, this is kind of a classic one. But obviously we didn't have too much discussion about his actual prize, because all of his discussion was surrounded about the fact that he kept saying your mum's a slag, which I heard the first time. And it did take me aback, and I'm so glad Greg pointed it out, because I genuinely thought I was going crazy for a moment. So this whole thing was just so funny. And I just like that he didn't know, like he couldn't hear it himself. Like I think he did the last time, but the first couple times he just genuinely did not believe that that's what it sounded like. But yeah, I loved everybody's reaction to it. It would have been very funny to be in the studio at that point. It was just absolutely hilarious. All in all, I think this is a pretty good prize task. Nothing too amazing in terms of the prizes. I think Emma's was definitely the strongest. But yeah, just a very funny prize task. Just the whole studio environment on this bit was just really funny. The first proper task in this episode was to plug the robot into the charging station, and they couldn't use the letter O or E in their instructions, and they had to give an instruction to the robot like every 6 seconds or so. So I think this one was quite tricky, but I do think this is like a more classic task that they've done that they have kind of like changed up and elevated, like having to direct something to a specific location with limited vocabulary and stuff like that, I think is something you'd see maybe in like the earlier seasons, and they've just kind of changed a few aspects of it to make it different and unique. And yeah, I thought this was really good. So we started off with Rosie and Andy's attempt, and I thought Rosie was really good and really quick to get the robot out of the room. I thought her instructions were quite clear. She stuck to like the same few words, but I thought it was really effective, and it was only really let down by the fact that she went to the wrong place. Like she just didn't see the other charge, like the actual charging station, and just took him to a bit of like plastic on the decking, which I don't understand why she thought that was a charging station, because there was like a plug, so you'd think there'd be a plug to plug in. But yeah, that did let her down. But I do think, as I said, her instructions were quite good, and she was very efficient, I think, getting him out of the house. Andy, on the other hand, I just don't understand why he thinks he can't leave rooms. Like, he's always really late to realise that he can leave the room that he's in. This has happened a couple times now, and I'm just quite surprised by that. The fact that he was looking all around the room for a plug of some sort to plug the robot into, just kind of not really thinking about the whole instructions and having to take him somewhere and direct the robot somewhere. So that was quite confusing, and I was just quite shocked that he just didn't really understand the task at first. But eventually he did, and he managed to leave the house and find the charging station, and was, I think, at that point, after that bit, he was quite efficient. Still came last, but yeah, at least once he got it going, he wasn't too bad. But I think in comparison to Rosie's, he was just a lot more chaos with his trying to get the robot out. But it was really funny, and I thoroughly enjoyed both of their attempts at this task. And then we had Jack, Baba and Emma all paired together for this task. And I think everybody here was quite efficient. I mean, these were the top three, so that definitely makes sense. I was quite surprised that Emma won this task. When I was watching the attempt, I thought Baba was the quickest. He seemed to just get the robot out quite quickly, whereas Emma, she took a while, like, getting him to, like, laugh all the time and crawl, which was hilarious. But I just thought she was quite slow to get out, but she must have been really efficient and really quick once she got out of the room to get him to the charging station. And I definitely think going out of the house and looking around at what's around to find out where the charging station is definitely the best bet, because otherwise you're just going to be like, you're the blind leading the blind, like you're not going to find it very quickly. So yeah, that's definitely the best solution, and I think her just continuously making the robot laugh was just hilarious. I loved it. I liked how Jack tried to kind of like skirt the rules by telling the robot to walk to the charging station or to locate the charging station, but he just couldn't. It didn't really work, and I don't think Alex would have let him get away with it, even if he did manage to find a instruction that didn't include the letters that he wasn't allowed to include. But the whole thing with him like telling him to find the charging station, and it's like, oh, the plug's back here, or like, where's the plug? And he's like, oh, the plug's on my back. And it was just all really funny, and I assume Alex in the suit was just really good as the robot. As I said, when watching this task, I thought Baba was the quickest. I think just because the way he found that he could direct him by just saying this way and getting him to follow. So that's why I probably thought that he was quicker, because it just seemed like he just found the one instruction that he needed and got the robot to the charging station really quickly. So yeah, all of that was really good. But yeah, I just thought it was a really fun task. I really, really enjoyed it. It was simple, yet really, really funny. The contestants got frustrated, which is just really funny as well. Like Baba saying at the end, like, oh, I really wanted to floor the robot. So yeah, I thought this was a really good one. It was nice to kind of go back to the basics a bit. And yeah, just rely on just annoying the contestants a bit and putting them in this like really like awkward situation where you've got something that's just not obeying what you're saying, and little things like, oh, you can't say this word or can't say that letter. I thought it was just a really strong task. The next task was to make the strongest smell, and they had to seal the smell in the bottle for however many months it was, and then open it in the studio. And this is one task that I would not want to be in the studio audience for, because I can't imagine how bad some of those would have smelled, like just the reactions of some of the contestants. But we'll get on to that in a bit. I thought this was quite a fun task. It's something that they haven't really done before, and I liked that it involved the contestants having to smell it as well, and it was more of like a prolonged thing, so kind of like a surprise in the studio. Them all making the smells was really funny. I think the contrast between Andy chucking in all these horrible things and Rosie putting like milk, cheese and egg in a bowl, and then Emma putting in perfume and fruit and tea. It was just really, really funny. Jack's idea I thought was really, really good. As soon as he thought about it, I was like, that is a genius idea, having that automatic air freshener just continuously pumping a smell into the jar. I thought that was so smart because, as you said, it didn't need to be most horrible smell, just strongest smell. So I thought this was absolutely genius. I also thought Baba's was quite strong as well, just going with, because coffees are like a very strong smelling thing, so putting in coffee and then putting in like Marmite, other things just kind of elevate that smell. So yeah, I thought everybody's ideas were quite good, apart from Emma's, but then we know why she went for something kind of like nice smelling. Because yeah, Andy just chucking in a bunch of stuff, well, that's not going to smell nice at all, like especially when you've got like really sharp smelling things like vinegar, like it's just going to be horrible. So yeah, I thought everybody had a good idea, and I thought the milk and egg one would have just been awful. But yeah, really surprising that it wasn't. I did enjoy the little trick in this one that it said on the back of the task that if you don't smell your smell, then you don't get any points for it. I thought that was really good because it does, like, because you could have made the worst smelling thing and just absolutely just known it would smell bad and refused to, but then you'd have got 0 points. So it just forces all the contestants to go and smell the thing as well, which I thought was really fun. And I like that Alex got away with not smelling any of it at all, because normally he's the one that has to do all the horrible things and Greg just gets to judge based on his expression. But I kind of liked that it was Greg actually going up and smelling them all, and I just loved all of the reactions from the contestants and from Greg as well when smelling them. Like with Emma's one, like obviously that was quite a nice smell, like as you said, it was like spa-like and just like a mild scent, so of course that's going to be pleasant. But yeah, Emma selling like, oh yeah, that's really strong, like she just didn't sell it at all, and you know it's not going to be that strong. And I'm surprised she went for that approach, that she could have just put in like lots of really strong perfume. I guess they might not have had something. You could have done a nice smell without it being weak at the same time. I was kind of surprised about how unpleasant Baba's one was, because like yeah, Marmite isn't a nice smell, and like coffee, I guess like really old coffee wouldn't be nice, but I didn't think it would be as horrible as like how they both reacted to it. Like Baba's eyes immediately widening and Greg immediately were like, nope, that's, yeah, horrible. Like, I was quite surprised by that, but as they said, it didn't have to be like the most unpleasant smell, it had to be really strong, which, so I imagine the reaction probably came from just how powerful the smell was. And then we had Rosie's, who was like, hers was fine, apparently it just didn't smell like anything, and I like that nobody trusted her when she smelt it and said that it was fine. I love that just no one had any trust in her at all, which I don't blame them, because I wouldn't have I was shocked as well, so I wouldn't have believed her. But I just thought that was all really funny, and I'm really surprised that it didn't. I don't understand why, maybe just because it was sealed. But yeah, that's really strange. I also just loved how disappointed she was, how excited she was for this horrible smell. I just thought it was all really funny. And yeah, it would have been, I mean, I think it's been made just even funnier by the fact that it didn't work, especially because probably Alex had been dreading it after seeing what she did, and she was obviously so excited to make Greg smell something horrible, and it was just didn't pay off. Jack's tactic paid off perfectly. He got 5 points on this one, and he just, the recoiling immediately from Greg, like I just imagine it was one of those really like sharp smells, like it just immediately hits you. And Greg saying that it made him feel a bit funny afterwards. Like I was quite surprised about how powerful it was. Like I knew it would be good, but like they all seemed to say it was unpleasant as well, which I would have thought, I mean, it's just air freshener. I'm surprised that it would have been that unpleasant. But yeah, just the way that Greg recoiled immediately after smelling it, you just know it was bad. Like that's just kind of how I picture it, like just a really sharp kind of like punch in the nose. And then you had Andy's, and Andy's, I mean, just looked disgusting, and is definitely the one I'd want to smell the least, because yeah, you could see all the other contestants just covering their noses and just being horrified. Alex being horrified as well. Like it just looked like just awful scenes, and I do wonder if the studio audience could smell it as well, because this was absolutely horrible. And I am surprised that he only got 3 points. I mean, I guess it's kind of like different definitions of strongest, because yes, Jack's might have been the strongest like initial scent, like as I said, like Greg immediately like recoiled, but I think the strength in Andy's was the fact that it like filled up the room. So I definitely feel like Andy maybe should have got an extra point. Give Jack 5 if it was genuinely the most unpleasant smell in that moment. But I think Andy's the fact that it spread that is powerful as well, like that is strong. So yeah, maybe like put it up to 4, like with Baba's, if you think Baba's was that strong as well. But yeah, so that was the only thing I kind of disagreed with, because I was just so shocked that Andy didn't get more points than 3, because it just looked absolutely horrible. The last task in this episode was to present the most heartwarming piece of local news, and I thought this was a really fun, like, creative task. I don't think we've really had anything that's similar to this. I think we've had contestants do like a news reporting thing as part of a task. I would be surprised if we haven't, but we haven't had like an actual task like this before, so I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really entertaining, a different kind of like format for the creative ones. I really enjoyed both of the team's attempts on this one. I think I do agree with Greg that the team of 3's ones was my preference. The whole thing with Andy being dressed up as that old woman and genuinely looking quite good as an old woman as well, and the story about her winning the Tour de France was quite good. There was the little interaction between Emma and Baba as the studio reporter and then the roaming reporter, and that joke about like the delay between them and just exaggerated that. I thought that was really funny. I thought it was just a really, really strong task. And then there was all that funniness about like, oh, is she like taking performance enhancing drugs and things like that, which I do think kind of dampened the heartwarming aspect of it, especially with Emma in the studio saying that I know that she's not meant to be there, things like that. Like that I think did take away from the heartwarming part of it. I do think though, because like the task was the most heartwarming story, I definitely don't think this was the most heartwarming. Arguably, I would say maybe Jack and Rosie's was more heartwarming, because the actual story itself didn't have like the twists like their granny is cheating and things like that. So I definitely agree that this was the better like skit and things like that than Jack and Rosie's, at least in my opinion. I thought it was just really entertaining and really fun, but I definitely think Jack and Rosie's was more heartwarming. I liked their whole thing, like how the lonely hedgehog was really cute, and him finding love with another hedgehog or friendship with another hedgehog, really, really sweet. And I liked the kind of banter and arguing between Jack and Rosie's characters. That was all really fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed both of them, and I do think Greg's scoring I do generally agree with. I think the team with 3's one was more like entertaining. I just preferred that one, so I probably would have given it more points as well. So I do think only 1 point difference between them is very, very fair. But yeah, it's just that whole most heartwarming thing. I don't know whether they should have been penalised for their story not being as heartwarming. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And then we had the studio task, and this time it was to catapult skydivers onto a target, and the furthest from the target each time was eliminated, and it was last man standing. This was their best studio task yet for Series 18, because it was just so much better than the other ones. We actually had it go to the end. It lasted more than a few seconds. It was entertaining. There were some like thrilling parts, some close calls, and audience members getting involved for the fact that they were having the skydivers fired at them instead of on the target. Just really entertaining. Like some genuine competitiveness as well, like Rosie saying, oh, if you really want to beat a disabled girl, then you do you. It was just really funny, and I think, yeah, some really amazing shots as well, like Emma getting it on the bullseye on one of her attempts, and on the final one, Jack and Rosie being like on top of each other, like really entertaining and like genuinely getting invested in it. So this is a drastic improvement from all the other studio tasks we've had this season. As I said, I've not been that big of a fan of the studio tasks so far, whether that be because it's either luck based or just winner takes all, or like it's not really gone as planned. But this one I think was amazing, really, really strong, and yeah, I just really enjoyed this one. And because of the studio task, it meant that Jack and Emma were tied for first place, and it's our first tiebreaker of the season. And for the tiebreaker, they had to guess Alex's age in days, the age he would be on Christmas 2024. And yeah, this was a really difficult one. Like, I don't think I would have been able to work it out as quickly as they were allowed to, and especially because you couldn't do any workings out. It was really tricky, and it was absolutely amazing how close Emma got. Like, that's genuinely so impressive. And someone did work it out afterwards, and I think the Taskmaster's team's calculations were slightly wrong, and it was around 16,000, I think, rather than 17,000. But still, Emma, I think, would have won regardless. She was just spot on, so good. And I absolutely love that Jack gave up. I probably would have just guessed a random number. I don't even know what I would have guessed. Maybe 20,000 or something like that. It was a really tricky one. I wouldn't have known what kind of scale to be going going for. But yeah, I like how immediately Jack was fed up with Alex, like Alex not really answering the questions and not telling him how old he was, things like that. So yeah, just really entertaining. And by Jack giving up and also Emma being extremely close, like let's not forget that Emma pretty much nailed it. Emma wins the episode, which means that every contestant has won an episode by episode 5, which is just incredible. That's never happened before, and that's really fun. It just shows how close the whole series is. And I was quite surprised when they showed the leaderboard that Rosie is actually like in last place. I thought she would be up there. It keeps changing, and it's definitely going to change some more when we have the other contestants using their hot dog costume, because like so far Jack got an extra 4 points and Baba got an extra 5 points, so it'll be really interesting to see how they do on theirs, and I can't wait for the rest of the season. I think it's really strong and I'm really enjoying it. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, it really helps the channel, and comment down your thoughts on episode 5 and the series so far. Are you enjoying it as much as I am? And subscribe if you want to see more videos of Taskmaster. I'll have some more out for you soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!